Okay, so, one of the biggest decisions people face is whether to rent or buy a place.
Especially somewhere like Gurgaon, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
with so much going on and so many different options.
right, exactly. It can be overwhelming.
So we wanted to really dig into this today in our deep dive.
Yeah.
We've got this great analysis comparing renting and buying in Gurgaon. And our goal is really to just like pull out the key advantages and disadvantages of each.
Absolutely. I think that's really important for people.
Yeah, so you can make a smart move, for your own situation.
For sure.
So let's start by talking about renting in Gurgaon. What are some of the biggest advantages there?
Well, one of the first things that jumps out is the lower initial investment.
Right.
Renting in Gurgaon really requires a lot less upfront cash than buying.
Yeah, just thinking about that down payment alone on a property
Oh my gosh.
can be huge, right?
It's a significant percentage of the property value here, and then you've got those registration charges on top of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. That's a big hurdle for a lot of people.
These
And I know Gurgaon's a big hub for young professionals, people who might need to move for work or, just for life changes.
Totally.
So how does renting kind of play into that?
Well, that's where the flexibility of renting really shines.
Yeah.
If you need to relocate to another part of Gurgaon, even a different city for work, you can do it so much easier than if you're trying to sell a property.
Right. You don't have to wait for the right buyer or worry about the market.
Exactly. You're not tied down.
And speaking of the market, how does renting protect you from those ups and downs?
That's a great point because as a renter, you're not directly impacted by those fluctuations.
Okay.
So if property values in Gurgaon happen to drop, it doesn't affect your living expenses right away.
Got it.
And even if they go up, your rent might adjust when it's time to renew.
Yeah.
But you haven't sunk a ton of money into an asset that could lose value.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then there's the whole maintenance thing.
Oh, yeah. The joys of homeownership, right?
Exactly. Those unexpected repairs can really add up.
Yeah.
But with renting, the landlord's usually responsible for most of that stuff.
So you're not suddenly having to shell out for a plumber in the middle of the night.
Exactly. It can
Okay.
save you a lot of stress and money.
Okay, so we've got lower upfront costs, flexibility protection from market shifts, and fewer maintenance headaches.
Right.
That's a pretty compelling case for renting.
Yeah.
But now let's flip the coin and look at why someone might choose to buy property in Gurgaon.
Sure.
What's the big draw there?
I think the primary benefit long term is building equity.
Oh, what?
With each mortgage payment, you're actually increasing your ownership in something tangible.
You're building wealth.
Right. And certain areas in Gurgaon have a pretty solid history of property value appreciation.
Right.
So your investment could really grow over time.
So that's the long game.
It is.
What about in the short term, like month to month? How does buying affect your expenses?
Well, while interest rates can fluctuate if you can lock in a fixed rate mortgage,
Okay.
your monthly housing costs become much more predictable,
Makes sense.
which can be really helpful for budgeting, especially compared to rents that tend to keep going up.
And of course, we can't forget about the tax advantages for homeowners in India.
Absolutely. Homeowners in Gurgaon can usually get tax deductions on the interest they pay on their home loan and even on their property taxes.
Which can add up to significant savings over time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the benefits of buying, we're seeing long-term wealth creation through equity, potentially stable monthly payments, and some nice tax breaks.
Right.
So let's just do a quick recap of the main trade-offs here for our listeners.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you put it all together.
Yeah.
So initial investment, much lower for renting, much higher for buying.
Okay.
Maintenance, usually the landlord's problem when you're renting your responsibility when you own.
Uh-huh.
Flexibility super high for renters, less so for buyers.
Right.
Equity building doesn't apply to renting, but it's a major plus for owning.
Gotcha.
Market risk renters are more protected, owners are more exposed. Monthly costs can be all over the place, with rent more stable with a fixed rate mortgage.
Okay.
And finally, tax benefits, not really there for renters, but definitely a perk for homeowners.
So it really boils down to what matters most to you at this point in your life.
Exactly.
What are your goals and your circumstances?
Are you prioritizing long-term asset growth?
Yeah.
Or do you need the flexibility to move quickly?
Right.
How long do you plan to stay in Gurgaon?
Uh-huh.
And can you handle that big initial investment and the ongoing costs of owning a place?
Because it's a big commitment.
It is.
And it's really about figuring out if you value the freedom and lower upfront costs of renting,
Right.
or the potential financial gain, stability, and tax advantages of
Okay.
owning
It's a trade-off.
in a place like Gurgaon that's really evolving.
Exactly.
So I guess the big question for our listeners is,
Yeah.
how do your lifestyle preferences and your long-term financial goals line up?
Right.
Does the agility of renting fit better? Or do you want the stability and potential rewards of owning in a dynamic market like Gurgaon?
It's a personal choice.
It is, but it's one that deserves some serious thought.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been a really insightful deep dive.
I agree.
Thanks for breaking it all down for us.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on the Tease Dive.
We'll catch you next time.